Hello, hello, hello. It's me, Angela McCrae, founder of Uncorked and Cultured, live here today on December 30th. Whew. Man, 2020 has been a doozy. So, it's one of those situations. Let me turn that off. So it's just been one of those years, right? A lot to think about, a lot to reflect. And so today, who I have joining me today is Taiia Smart Young. Hey,
How
how
are
are you?
you?
Happy holidays.
Yes, happy holidays to you. We're about to be out of here on this year. We're going into a new one.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I have mixed feelings about this
Okay.
year. You
Well,
know
we
what
will
I
get
mean?
into that. Okay. We will get it.
Yes, yes, we will get into that. But first, I just want to kind of like just introduce you because
Sure.
you've had a great career. As a writer, as an senior editor. Focusing primarily in entertainment as well as like Black women. Working at Essence and also Latina magazine as well as Double XL and all these different bylines that you've done throughout your career. So can you just give us like as a journalist, as an author, part of your job is to speak to so many people, and I'm sure you get so many gems and nuggets. What are some of the gems that stuck with you over the years that you still hold on to?
The gems that I have. Oh, great question. I think the biggest one is probably about giving yourself permission to just do the thing, right? A lot of times, as women, I think we wait for other people to give us permission. We wait for someone to recognize us. And I think I spent a lot of time doing that when I was in my 20s. And there's something that's very freeing when somebody tells you, why are you waiting for someone else to recognize you, or why are you waiting for someone else to tell you to do a thing that you know that you want to do and is your purpose and is your passion and you feel completely into? So yeah, that was one of the biggest things. Like, do you, don't wait for permission, give yourself permission. You are the green light. Go ahead. Don't see no red lights up ahead.
I know that's right, and that's important, right? Because sometimes we do get in our head. We have this imposter syndrome. We have this, scared, scared to launch kind of thing. And so 20, I think 20 is probably like we probably aren't. No one else is going to ever, experience this in their lifetime. So this is kind of like a once in a lifetime experience for so many generations, and it's taught us all so many lessons about ourselves, right? And I just want to take a moment to just acknowledge some of the people that are watching. If you're here, if you're seeing us, please check in. Let us know you're here. Hit us up in the comments so we can, know that you're here and we're checking in on you. And if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat box as well, because this is all about like learning, right? We're inspiring people, we're sharing information, and most importantly, we want to make sure that we all are looking back at 2020 as a lesson. Most importantly, right? It's a lot of us lost loved ones. And a lot of us gained a new sense of confidence, a new sense of purpose. So I think that's important for us to really go into 2021 is with some gratitude. So yeah, so let's get started here now. I mean, first of all, let me just let people know that this is where you can follow her. So just so you know, if you're looking for a resume, looking for everything that she's been up to, make sure you check her out on Instagram. Her handle's right there on the graphic. And you can, see all the amazing things that she's done in the during this pandemic, but also see what she has coming up right now, because she's been doing some amazing workshops. So tell us about some of the workshops you've been working on.
Sure. I think the biggest thing for me in the pandemic was realizing that I had to take my event that I was doing in Brooklyn called the Write and Sip, where we sip wine and we write to a specific theme, realizing that I had to take it virtually. And so the concept of the Write and Sip was really based in the fact that I had been to 100,000 of these. I'm exaggerating, of course. These paint and sips, coming home with an ugly painting, but enjoying the sisterhood and the camaraderie and meeting people and hanging out. And I wanted to recreate that. So I was like, oh, what if I do a write and sip? And so at first people were kind of intimidated because they felt like, oh, well, I need to be a writer for this. And I'm like, no, this is about fun. So the last theme that we did, which was just recently, a couple weeks ago, was the Mary J. Blige and Faith Evans. event. So every prompt was dedicated to music that either Mary or Faith created. There you go. Then you got the graphic up there. We had a ball. Like we wrote to Just Fine. We wrote to No More Drama. I had trivia. Do you know how many Grammys Mary has? You know what was the first movie that Faith was in? You know, like I had just had all these things because I'm a big fan of the culture. I'm a big fan of pop culture. I cover entertainment. I write about it so much, and it's like it's in my pores, and so everything that I kind of do bubbles up from that. So this particular event that I created, the Write and Sip, is really a chance for people who just want to have fun and get together. And what I didn't realize was that there was going to be so much sisterhood that was built out of this. So I, I'm just grateful that I was like, you know what? Don't be scared of the fact that yes, you can't recreate the exact same thing of when it's live and you have it in Brooklyn, but I recreated a whole other thing. And I was like, oh, we're gonna have a VIP happy hour. I had a DJ.
Awesome.
I had one of my high school friends come through who actually went to bartending school, and he taught us how to make some drinks. So we had the what's the 411 Hun, which was a whiskey based drink, and then we had a tequila based drink that was dedicated to Faith, and that was as soon as I get home, I will be drinking.
I know that's right.
It was just so much fun. So I just tried to bring all that energy that I would bring normally to a live event space in Brooklyn, tried to bring it virtually, and we just had a ball. We had a good time. So that was a blessing to come out of the pandemic.
Awesome. And one of the things that I was, after reading your bio and of course us just chatting, let me just give people a sense of how we met. Okay, so we met, I think, 2018.
Yes,
it was 2018. I was working on the HBCU Rising. Tell Them We Are Rising, the story of Black colleges and universities. It was a documentary that Stanley Nelson directed, and I had the pleasure of being the communications and digital marketing manager on that campaign. And we were able to, be on a panel together with Refinery 29, which was a huge deal for me, right? Because I was still at the time living in California. Okay, so I didn't know if you already were connected with Refinery 29, but we shared the stage with who? Who was we on stage with?
Oh my goodness, Carla, the chef.
Yes, Carla Hall from Food Network. I think it was the Chew that she used to be a co-host on. So she's a Howard alum. You're a Johnson C. Smith alum.
Yes.
And I'm a Morgan State alum. So we were up there repping in a sea of white women, right?
Yes, telling them about what HBCUs are all about, right? Giving them our flavor, our take, letting them know why our universities are still important and relevant and what they mean to us.
And it was a really well done panel because it really talked about the history. It had, a bunch of amazing Black women talking about it, our experiences, and they did a really good job creating that experience for us, and had some great numbers actually on the stream. So that's how we connected. So we connected in, living our lives unapologetically, representing our culture, but then also being a voice for inspiration, right? Inspiring future HBCU graduates, or just students just looking at HBCUs. And then most importantly, we connected. We've been following each other since then. I've been inspired by her writing workshops that she's been doing, and so I was like, hey, let's talk, let's get on Uncorked and Cultured and share what you've been up to.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So when we talk about reflections, right, because this is the extreme year of reflection, because we all had time to do it. Now, it was a point in time in my life where I didn't reflect on things. I just kept going.
Right.
And, and as you get older, the time just starts, moving too fast that you got to really take the time to really think things through. And, being in New York, in this new city, in this new state, in this, new little apartment by myself, I've reflected on so much. My childhood, my relationships, my career, what the future holds, my health. Right. And so, Taiia, I just want you to give us a sense of when you're working on your content and you're working on your programs to really start digging in with writers, authors, or aspiring writers and authors, and just people, right? Your subjects that you interview.
Because I work with students too.
Exactly. You work with students. What is it that you have? How do you get them to kind of get in a mind frame of reflecting to tell their story?
Really, it just starts with a conversation. So when I'm working with my clients who want to maybe write a memoir, or maybe they're using their expertise, and they lost 150 pounds and now they want to show you how to do it, or they got gained muscle and they want to show you how to do it. It just starts with a conversation. Like, I'm big on, I always feel like there's a story that they want to tell, and then there's the story behind that story. So always when I'm digging and I'm asking questions and I'm probing and I'm looking for what that story is, but I'm also looking for like those little jewels, those nuggets, because a lot of times we just gloss over the story and we don't think that we have anything special going on. That's one of the biggest things that I hear from students, because I have another workshop called Rock Your College Essay, and I founded that because I wanted Black and Brown students, especially, to be able to know that their stories are important and their stories are significant, and they have something that can help them stand out. Yeah, there's my 9 tips for writing your killer college essay, because I'm not about any kind of boring writing at all. But students tell me the first thing they say is, I don't have a story. There's nothing that ever happened to me. So I throw up some images on the screen like, listen, were you ever robbed? Right? Did you ever have a loved one die? Did anybody get sick? And then it's like, oh, yeah, well, I did have something happen to me. Were you ever cut from the team? Were you ever put on the team? Did you ever win something? Were you ever a champion? And then it's like all these stories start to bubble up. And so it just starts with that conversation.
So now the interesting thing is, of course, this is like your work. This is your life's work, right? Pulling the story out of people, finding the story, and digging deep. But for a lot of us right now, we're in isolation and it's just us. What are some things that we can do when we don't have, you know, you in front of us to kind of, ask us those questions? Like, what are some of the things that, we could just start doing as we reflect and try to be in the, take this year and look at the, making sure the challenges don't necessarily outweigh the successes, and or at least the positive things to be grateful about.
I think we just have to start. I like to start my day with an attitude of gratitude, and I started it. Sadly, I started thinking about being more grateful when I lost my job. I've been laid off 3 times. And so
Mm.
the second time when I lost it was really when I was like, I can be depressed and I can bang my head against the wall and I can be frustrated that once again there were budget cuts and I was one of the ones that was on the chopping block. Or I could be grateful that, I still have my health. I have my family. I have my husband to hold me down. I have creativity. I have ideas. I have a skill that no one is, my skill is not, it's like, okay, you can only do it here, right? There's so much to be. I was a communications major. So we're talking about a whole skill set. We're talking about writing, interviewing, we're talking about editing, we're talking about being on camera, we're talking about conducting interviews. And so it's just so much there. And I was like, you know what? I can either decide that I'm going to create and do something or do nothing. And so I think for us, when we start thinking about coming from a place of gratitude, even in the pandemic, it's like we just got to be thankful for those little things. Like my quarantine doesn't look like J-Lo's quarantine, right? Right? Everybody's quarantine looks a whole hell of a lot different. But still, I'm thankful that I have a terrace, that at least I can go out on my terrace and get some fresh air and sit and think and meditate or whatever. I'm thankful that my son is here. We had to go get him from Virginia State and bring him back here, but I'm thankful that he's here and he's safe. So there are things to be thankful for. And I think that once we start journaling about those things, and if you're not comfortable with the word journaling, just at least if you're writing notes to yourself and writing letters to yourself, you kind of document what's happening to you and it gives you this chance to reflect. There's a potential client that I was talking to yesterday, and she was telling me that she has a gratitude jar. So what she does is every day she writes down what she's grateful for. And at the end of the year, she kind of dumps it out and reflects on where she was at different points in the year. And it just makes you a whole hell of a lot more grateful for that can of tuna fish you might have in your fridge, where you didn't have to, right?
And that's real. That's real. Like, and it's like we have to also create these rituals, these routines, these reminders of what it is for us to be grateful for, because it's easy for us if we all put our challenges and our complaints in a jar. What you gonna pick back up?
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I didn't want to start the prayer with a complaint or with a request. I wanted to have the universe, have God acknowledge the fact that I am saying, I'm so thankful for these things. And by the way, help me out. I'm about to launch something. So please, look out for your girl. Put that in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is great stuff here. And one thing, okay, so you have this moment a few years back where
Yes.
you was you created the meet the author experience. So you want to, and this was at the beginning of, I guess, when you were, I mean, like, what stage with this was this when you were kind of like in your career and in this frame of just like manifesting and just really, like living in that space of authenticity?
Sure. This was 2015, which was my year of patience. I was quite impatient about a lot of things. I had some book deals that fell through for various different reasons. And I decided to self publish because I have been in the magazine publishing industry. And I was like, listen, I know how to hire a photographer to take a picture of me for this cover. I know how to hire a formatter to do the formatting. I know how to hire an editor to edit my writing. And so I pretty much put that together. The one thing that I didn't know how to do was to market it. And so I took a class that specifically was designed for people who wanted to self-publish and help them figure that out. So in terms of me being impatient, I think what happened was that those deals that didn't pan out for me, they pushed me to self-publish and create something that I ended up winning 3 independent indie awards for. And so that particular picture was actually at the Circle of Sisters Expo, which is pretty big here in New York City in the fall. And so I was at a table with some other authors because those tables are pretty expensive. So we kind of split the table and we took our turns at the table.
Community, yes.
Exactly, right. Community. And you know how we like, listen, we needed a hookup. So that was my little time at the table, and I was promoting my book, and I had my bookmarks, and I was just signing books and trying to really just get into the mix of things.
Awesome, awesome. So you mentioned 2015 was your year of patience, right? And so a few years back when I was living in Los Angeles, there was a moment in time in which I did the same thing. My year of patience was 2013.
Okay.
And that was my first time literally like looking at taking the time to literally think about what I wanted to manifest and what I needed to work on, like what stage in my life I was in to really start navigating to, you know, create life lessons, right? And to kind of level up in different areas that I knew I was deficient in. And in order for me to recognize that, I had to literally reflect,
Yeah.
reflect on what were the challenges, where was my pain points, what was my successes. But I think for me, I was so ambitious, because I was 3,000 miles away from my family. In 2013, I had already been in LA for 4 years, right?
Mhm.
4 or 5 years. And stuff still wasn't where I expected it to be, because it's a struggle. And so I felt like that year of patience for me was a moment to really allow God to
Yes.
move me, to let the universe move me, not force things. It made me literally take the time and the intention to not try to force things and not trying to push things in one way or the other, but to just be patient, and just let things flow as they were. So since then, each year I've kind of designated
Mhm.
a purpose. And I know that was something that we connected on.
Yes.
So, and we kind of like talked about it. So it was, what did you call it? I think you said it was a word to hold on to when shit falls apart.
Yes, exactly. Because sometimes you need things to center you. And so it could be a word, it could be a talisman. Listen, I do it all, right? Because I still have something that my grandmother created for me a long time ago, and I still have that on my nightstand. So you need these things to center you so that you can move forward and get into whatever groove it is you need to get into, if it's creatively, or if it's romantically, whatever it is. And so yes, I absolutely, since 2015, have chosen a word that I use to kind of center myself and bring everything back to. So when shit falls apart, it's like, okay, what's my word? What do I need to do to get back to this point where I want to be?
Now, okay, so one of the things I noticed is like, both of us, clearly there's a lot of alignment, right? We met on a panel, we both went to HBCUs, we both were communications managers, majors.
Right.
We both, had these moments in which we designated years to be kind of like serving in purpose, right? And intention. But there's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily have that life experience or have that perspective. And so I
Mhm.
want to make sure that as we kind of have this conversation, that we could think about ways to inspire them to kind of,
Yeah.
go outside of themselves. Like, a lot of people say, oh, I'm not a good writer, right? Like, I don't think I'm the best writer. I think I'm just okay. Sometimes I get the spirit and something good, comes out. But a lot
Right.
of times it's like pulling teeth. So for people like that who may not consider themselves a writer or storyteller, like what are some things, whether it's exercises or just a perspective that they can come from, that you can kind of inspire them, where they could come from when doing exercises like this?
Sure. Well, the first thing is that I think that I always say, well, not I think, I always say that I can help you become a better writer. What I can't do is teach you passion, right? So if you're passionate about something, if you have a genuine interest in something, I can help you tell that story. I can help you write that essay. I can help you write those steps for how you did the weight loss journey. So that is the first thing that's really important to me and really crucial in terms of helping someone uncover what it is. So it's not necessarily about being the best writer, right? I might not be the best writer, but what I am is passionate about what I'm writing about. What I am is interested, and what I am is what Steve Jobs says for us to always be. And that great commencement speech he gave is about always stay hungry, stay curious. That to me is more important. You being passionate about something is more important to me, because if you're passionate about it, then I'm going to get passionate about it and I'm going to help you then deliver the product that you want.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's good because you're a service provider too. So it's like not only can you tell your story and share your journey to inspire us, but you can actually help people create ways for them to really tap into their creativity to own their story. Now, when you talked about passion just a second ago, and I know for me, it took some time for me to realize what my passion was, right?
That's
Um,
common though.
yeah, it's common. And some people, they might live their whole lifetime and still not sure what they're passionate about, and I think sometimes it's because we can't put a pin on it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think, we know what we like, we know what we do in our pastime, we know what we get paid to do, we know what our, talents are, but when it comes to
We know what
passion.
our parents have told us we should be interested in, or right. So it's a lot in terms of the backstory, in terms of why we haven't figured out what our passion or our purpose is. It doesn't necessarily always mean that we haven't had one. We might have something that we're interested in, and may not think that that thing is a passion, or may be confused to think that maybe your passion or your purpose has to be your job. I don't necessarily believe that, right? I think that you could have a job, you could be a VP at Chase and still be passionate about painting and still want to paint and still have an exhibit. It's just another side of you that's coming out.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's well said, because even for me, like every time I've had a job, I've always had an outlet, some type of creative outlet that my job wasn't fulfilling, and that's what made me realize it. And also, I've read a few books. Like I've read this book called Strength Finders 2.0.
Mm,
And I don't know if you've read that, but it's
yeah, yeah,
so in one of my years, let me pull up my little list of years of so
yeah.
during my year of so during my year of success,
Okay,
which was 2015, that was when I was really focusing on like goal setting, go and attaining it, right? And so I did a lot of assessments where I would read books or take these tests where you do self-assessments. A lot
right.
of people think of like mirrors, or the Myers-Briggs test, which is the
Right,
personality, but they have other tests like the DISC. And then they have this one book called Strength Finders, where you just do these. They give you a link in the back of the book. You fill out all these questions, and it's no wrong answer, because it really just based off of your preference. So
right,
so it's timed. You don't really put a lot of thought into it, and at the end, it tells you your 5 strengths, and it's really helpful in identifying your leadership skills, your leadership role, where your position when it comes to working with others versus working alone, and how you think like long term and as far as goals. And that was very valuable for me to identify my passions, right? And what my where my, because they say where your passion, your skill sets, and your talent kind of align.
right.
When I say talent, is natural talent, right? Skill sets is usually what you get paid to do and what you've learned, and then your passion is just what moves you. And that sweet spot is
Yeah,
usually your purpose.
right. It's like sometimes they tell you to do it on like the concentric circles on a paper. And so right there in this where all the circles meet, that's where your sweet spot is. That's your zone of excellence or genius or whatever people want to call
Exactly.
it. But yeah.
Exactly. And so I know for you, it was a point in time in which you were you did the Love You Mean It live. And this was
Yeah.
something that I think probably fits in this conversation, right?
Yeah, so this was about me like needing to get into some self-care ritual because um being an entrepreneur, I'm new to this, so I don't, I'm learning as I go. I'm taking like courses, I'm doing coaching, and so I'm figuring out a lot. And so as I'm figuring out what products I want to offer to people, I'm also creating so that I can figure out what works. And so this love you mean it actually I don't want to say it took on a life of its own, but it kind of did because what happened was, is I said, well, you know what? I want to be able to teach people how to make journals and planners. And so I created this self-love journal. It's about 80 pages, and it was the most fun thing for me to create. I designed it. I wrote all the prompts. It's just like I believe it's 21 prompts. There's some quotes in there. It's just a place for us to, as women, to love up on ourselves. And I was feeling like I needed that for myself. So I kind of made it as a gift to myself, and I put it on Amazon. I've been marketing it. And the thing for me is that in terms of my marketing, I'm always like, how do I bring all the coin back to me? Right. Because when you put something up on another platform, you're now splitting your profit with Amazon. And I'm like, listen, I want all the profit to come back to me, Taiia. So how do I do that? So what I did was created, again, in the pandemic, normally you would have maybe like some kind of book event, and you invite some people over and you do an activity, you do a thing, you do a reading, you have a wine, you have a this, you have a that. Yeah, there wasn't any of that. So what I had to do was I created this Love You Mean It Live. And so that's really where the live journaling kind of started for me. So I did it, I believe I did it 3 times, and I did it for free. But the thing was is that I promoted the book. So ultimately you had such a good time that everyone who attended wanted to get a journal. And that's what happened. So I've been ordering small quantities of probably like 50 to 100 books and just been selling them out that way. So it's been a great experience to have that community and then offer them as giveaways and do freebies and that kind of thing. So it's a way to connect with the audience, especially if there's someone who wants to create a journal, because it's a very quick product to make, especially if it's like, oh, I want to be an author, but I can't write 30,000 words, which is what I always suggest for someone who's first getting into writing their books. I want them to write a small book, so 30,000 is roughly about 100 and something pages.
Okay, I love that. I love that. So what you're doing, you're breaking it down to how you've taken something that people think is so overwhelming and is a huge task, and you've
Right,
broken it down into digestible bites so that people can get quicker, quick returns because it
yeah,
doesn't take as long. It's digital, so that means people can literally download it. It's shareable. Cut out, and then 3, you cut out the middleman, which was the publisher as well as the Amazon or any distributor,
right,
and you took the pressure off of people because as a workbook or as a journal, it's like you're sharing, your affirmations or your lessons or your voice, but then you're also making it actionable so people can take action and take it along with them along the way to kind of delve deeper. So
exactly.
let's just talk about this for a second, so people who
Sure.
just joined in. So we're talking about digital products, and this is something that I just got familiar with recently. I've been using them for a long time, but I never really thought of it as a digital product. Like I don't know. It's you think about e-commerce as a when you think about digital products, but this is something that's different. So Taiia, can you kind of break that down? What is considered digital products?
Sure. A digital product can be anything from an ebook, it could be a webinar, it could be a mini course, a master class, a boot camp, a workshop. And now that I'm saying it, I'm like, wow, I've done a bunch of these different things, right? And that's really going to be my focus for 2021, because as we just consume information in different ways, a lot of times we need a quick hit, a quick result. So a lot of times you'll be scrolling on Instagram or you're scrolling on Facebook, and now we've gotten more savvy to ads. And I think that initially when I first started in this game, a lot of times the courses were so expensive. So like I've done B School, which was, I believe that was a $2,000 course, right? So a huge expense and an investment in yourself. But sometimes you can't afford that. So maybe that's considered your premium course. And so maybe you need something that's a little bit lower, or you need something that's kind of like, I'm not really sure who this brand is, and I'm not really ready to spend more than $100 with them. So you may see something that's $47, and you're like, okay, I can do a $47 mini course. No harm, no foul. That's like an appetizer and drinks. Not in New York City, somewhere else. But you make that investment, and then you get some more information and you build from there. So what I love about digital products is that you can have this great different price points. So you can have your most affordable, maybe something that you bought that was maybe $27. Maybe you bought a $17 ebook, or even a $10 ebook, all the way up to a course that is really about for high level coaches, something that has so many different components. Maybe it's like a weekly check-in with whoever is conducting the course. Maybe it's like a Facebook group. So there's so many different components, but you come in where you fit in. And to me, that's really why digital products are so attractive, is because it makes it, everyone is now can has access to some kind of product that they can use.
Well, this is something where we got to start thinking innovatively, because one thing that we've learned in 2020 is that the pandemic is keeping us inside, and the only way our social lives are now virtual, and our digital lifestyle is like our reputation, right? Like it's like an extension of us, like in a real way that we've probably all been kind of shying away from. I know I have. And when you think of what I was just from listening to you, so I'm thinking about those master classes that started popping up maybe 5 years ago, but people were paying like $100 to hear from Spike Lee, or like, someone great that they might look up to in the film or like entertainment industry. Also, a lot of these virtual film festivals now, like, as a filmmaker and someone in media, like, we're so used to the experience, but now it's like these virtual events, which actually I've attended this Experience Harlem virtual event right before the holidays, and it was so cool. Like, it was literally like a DJ. You could go into the DJ room and you could chat with people. It was like a networking area where you can have people pop on screen similar to this, and people can just pop in and introduce themselves. And then when it comes to ebooks, you actually gifted me with your journal, which I can't wait to like look into for 2021, so I can start, setting the pace for my planning this year. But also just ebooks, like just regular novels. Like, we've been using them for how many years now? Like, this is the norm with the Kindles and things of that sort. So now it's like looking at as individuals, how can we occupy that space? How can we, figure out our footprint in that digital lifestyle, in that digital product space? And so I know you had this particular journal that you worked on recently, which was Right to Heal. And
Actually, it was an event. That was a fundraiser that we did. So piggybacking on what you said in terms of events and making them, how do we make them special? This was something that I have to completely give credit to one of my friends, longtime friends. Her name is Liz Carroll, and we worked together at Harris Publications when I was at Double XL, and she was at Scratch Magazine, and we've just stayed in contact and had just this great bond and sisterhood. And she said, I want to do something where we're combining self-care and journaling, because she knew I had done this journal. And I was like, we got together and we created this event, and we decided that we wanted the Loveland Foundation to be the beneficiary of whatever money we raised. So we set a goal of $500, and we exceeded that. I believe we raised almost like $800 for this organization. And it was just about, again, bringing it really back to community, bringing it back to giving women a space and a chance to heal. And so all of the prompts were dedicated to self, because as you said, we're in go mode. So we don't stop, we don't reflect, we're not thinking about, okay, well, what was the mistake that I made there, and how could I have made this better? We're just going. And so this was really a chance not only to literally stop because of the pandemic, but also stop to focus on what is needed in terms of, excuse me one second. Miss Sherman, can you turn that down? I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. We could barely hear it.
Okay, all right. So it was just a chance to be able to get women, like I was saying, get women together to write about us and to celebrate us. And what we found was that we have been neglecting us on so many levels. And it was great to be able to connect. And we actually did right to heal. There was crying, there was laughing, there was, people having their personal new year before we even got to the first of the year. They were deciding that it was time for them to change things, and they were doing that.
Awesome, awesome. And one of the things okay, so that's great because whenever we get together, it's sisterhood. You know what I mean? Even if we get catty, even if we, because we're not a monolith. So, some people are into certain things, some people, and others are into others. But when we get together, there's still this spirit or this bond that takes place, that creates some magic. And I feel, and that's why I think, like, I get inspired by people, by especially Black women and Black men, and it just really, I think having these type of events and taking the time to create space to share is
Yes.
so important. It's so important. And so as we're looking back on, like, reflecting on 2020, because I want us to kind of like start, navigating and talking about like 2021 a bit.
Yes.
Um, one of the things that I think resonated most with me is that 2020 has taught me to slow down. And if you guys are watching, and if you're watching us live, let us know in the comment box, what has 2020 taught you? What are some of the biggest lessons, whether it's a good, something, a win, an accomplishment that surprised you, or if it was a challenge, but you overcame, and you have gratitude in your spirit, knowing that you were able to see the other side of that. Please leave it in a comment box, because I think it's important for us to share our stories, because it'll inspire others, even if the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because you never know, that strength and that vulnerability that you have actually can get people over a hump that they may not think that they can get through.
Absolutely.
You know, so so I know there were some comments. Let me see what comments we have here.
Okay.
Okay. I had some comments earlier. So we had Patricia Carroll, that's the homie. One of my good friends. She said she likes what she's hearing. She loves it. We got Arena East checking in from California. She's a ride or die. She's always supportive and always, sacrificing to push forward for the greater good. And so if anybody else is out there, just let us know if you like what you're hearing, let us know. And if you want to hear, and if you have any questions, definitely put them in the chat box. So, Taiia, I know when we talk about, this year, a lot of things that we've been seeing is a lot of spirituality. Like, a lot of people have been talking about the stars. A lot of, we're hearing a lot more people, talking about astrology and just manifesting and setting intentions and CMOS and candles and, and stones and all these things, unlike no other. Like this, in other years we haven't really seen or heard this. This hasn't been a mantra. But I think we're all at a vulnerable place. So we're looking and we're holding on to so many things. We got Jan here. Hey Jan, thank you for joining us. She's loving it, and Arena's loving the show as well. Thank you so much, ladies, for checking in on us. So, I mean, as we go into 2021 and we're setting our intentions, what are some like exercises, like, or some questions people should ask themselves?
I'm so glad you asked, because last year what I did was a 3-day challenge where I encouraged people to join me as I picked my word for the year. And so the very first thing that I told them to do was, we got to look back at it, right? We got to figure out what happened in that year. And it's so important to just assess, like you said, what went on. And so I told them, listen, you get one thing to complain about. That's it. When we complain about it, we acknowledge it. We know it went wrong. but then you have to celebrate yourself 3 times, name the things that went right. And so sometimes that's really difficult because we keep a running record of every time we effed up, but we don't keep a running record of every time we killed it, every time we showed up, we got the promotion, we did that PowerPoint, that deck in Canva, whatever, it came out, we killed it. So one of the things that I said for them to do, I just want to make sure I got it right because I want to read my own little notes, was some of the questions I had people ask themselves is, how do you define success? Because I think as we get older, the definition may change. For some people, it may be money. For some people, it may be service. Some people, it may be title, right? So how do you define success? What energizes you? So now we're thinking about what makes you want to get up in the morning. And sometimes it might just be your paycheck, right? It might not be the job itself, but it might be the fact that you get a paycheck every 2 weeks. Let's be honest. What scares you the most? And why do you allow it to have the power over your life? What's your greatest strength, your ability, your talent? What are you looking forward to? So all of these questions are meant, like I told you in the very beginning, it's all about a conversation. So these questions were really a chance for people to have a conversation with themselves and to really become self-aware and assess what it is that made sense in their lives and what didn't, right? What are you being called to do? So if you have never thought about your purpose, this is your purpose question. What have you forgotten that you need to be reminded of? Do you know how often it is that we forget what we said we wanted to be when we were little? Like outside of, the typical answer that people used to give and be like, oh, I want to be I want to be a police officer. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. Like people now have access to so many different kinds of careers that you can create your job. You can make the thing, right? No, people didn't have digital products when I was growing up, but now it's a thing. And so now you have to create your existence, create your purpose, create the very thing that's going to make you happy. And then one of the questions was, what's preventing you from creating an action plan to move toward your goal? So all of these questions were designed for people to make them to think and dig deeper. And then from there, the second part was to see what themes emerge, what words are emerging, what things are repeated, and then kind of curate that list down. So let's say, for instance, if like 10 words appeared from those questions, maybe you look at some things that are kind of the same. What themes you have, maybe like, I don't know, fear is popping up for you, maybe, courage is popping up, whatever pops up, then we kind of then we're examining what those things mean. But then too, the other part I push people to do is create a definition for themselves. We know what Webster said, and that's fine, and we know that's the official tissue, but what does this mean to you, right? So if you said one of your years was success, then for me, I would say, okay, well, what is your definition of success? What does success look like for you in terms of going into 2021? What will be a successful year for you, right? If you create 3 digital products and you make your revenue goal of maybe $30,000 with your digital products, is that success to you, right? So everyone is going to come at it with a different kind of definition. So it's not success for you. It's not going to look the same for me, and it shouldn't, because we have different goals.
Wow. So you just broke it down, because those questions were amazing. I mean, it definitely was very thought-provoking for me. And I feel like, you put the cherry on top when you said defining what these words and these answers and these things mean for you. Because it's one thing, like you said, to read it in a dictionary, but how do you connect with it? How does it resonate with your experiences, with you, with your mind, what your passions are, what your intentions are? And I feel as though, like, because we've been in such a vulnerable, uncertain place this year, there's been a lot of pressure put on us, right? Like, you should be launching this. I've been in conversations with people where it's like, if you ain't done this, that, and the third, then I ain't messing with you,
right.
and things like that.
That's
Yeah, and I had to tap a couple people on their shoulder. I was like, well, that's not cool. Like, you don't know people's emotional state, their mental state. You don't know what they might have had multiple deaths. You know what I mean? Throughout this pandemic, you just don't know. Because at the beginning, I definitely was like curled up on the couch binge watching and drinking a bottle of wine and eating all types of crazy stuff for the first month. That's real. Because my vision and understanding of the stuff I was reading on the news was like,
it was bleak. We didn't know we've never been in a pandemic, so we had no idea what this meant. And so to literally watch New York City the city that never sleeps, the city that's always popping, the city that something's going on in Times Square, the city where there could be a party on the train that needs to be shut down. Like it was crazy to watch my city just not be alive, and for me to not go and enjoy my city, or for me to be scared to be like, is it okay to go to the grocery store? Is it okay to like, and then you have people who are just like, damn COVID, I'm out here, you're gonna die of something anyway. And so everyone came to it at a different with a different perspective and a different feeling. And so yeah, it's I don't think that we had to have launched something, and if you didn't, you're a failure.
Right.
If you're still alive and you're still taking care of your family, then that is the blessing, right?
That
The
is
wake
the
up is
blessing.
the victory, as I heard one time. The wake up is the victory. And so if you're waking up and you have lost someone, or you lost your job, or you just like, there's a lot that we have dealt with, not just death, not just sickness, but people lost their jobs, right? We're waiting on a $600 stimulus check. What is it stimulating? Okay.
Okay. And I just want to give a shout out to E, because she said something real powerful in this response right here. She
Yes.
said COVID is a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And she said that she paid attention to what really is not important.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, by make it a must to take time to smell the roses. And I feel like those two things are so important, because I had to kind of like protect myself from certain type of entities and just energy, right? Because it's like you have so many thoughts, feelings, like we're processing so much, especially just with virtually, because
Right.
virtually, when you have these in your hand and you have the laptop in front of you and you have the social media, you're getting so much information at a very short period of time. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm over 40 now. And I don't know about you, but I
Yes,
can't
ma'am.
remember
I'm
half the shit I see.
45, ma'am. Yes.
I can't remember half the shit I see. So I just feel like, it's been such a big deal because everything's virtual. So I'm not feeling that energetic connection. I'm not, looking somebody in their eye anymore. So it's like this barrier that's, blue light. People wearing blue light glasses now. Like it's this screen. And it's so, we have to be very intentional with how what we consume,
Absolutely.
and how we spend our time. And I've been spending a lot, for the first time in my life, literally, since before I was a little girl. I've been spending a lot of time by myself, and this time, the blessing for me with COVID is taking me back to childhood, allowing me to really find what that place of joy really feels like and looks like for me. Like I've been painting. I've been doing like the little, kid stuff that I used to do when I was younger, and it feels fulfilling. And so when we talk about like, intentions, when we talk about like really being purpose driven, um, when you work with your clients,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because your clients, not all of them are writers, right? Some of them are just professionals. Some of them might be influencers. I mean, I don't know. You tell us. But when
Yeah,
you're
they come from all walks of life.
huh?
He said they come from all walks of life.
Right. So when you first talk to your client, right, and you're like really trying to dig deep to help them tell their story, because everybody's story is valuable, no matter who you are, what your walk of life is. It's so important for us to tell our story, whether it's through a social media, whether it's through these type of engagements here, or whether it's writing a book and creating a digital product. That should be something that you should start considering, because it's monetized. This is about parlaying the pandemic.
I love that hashtag. Parlay.
Parlaying the pandemic. Shout out to Morel for coming up with that. So that's going to be our theme, Uncorked and Cultured, all January. The theme is going to be parlaying the pandemic. So make sure you check us out so you can know what we're going to be doing for that. So how do you get your clients in the right mental state? Because we're so self-critical.
Yeah, again, going back to the conversation, I like to be able to get to know them on a personal level, because aside from me being a self-publishing consultant, I'm also their coach. Right. And so to me, the sessions that I have, like they ends up being so therapeutic sometimes, not just for them, but I think for me too. And so when you get to establish that connection, right? So the thing that we're definitely missing in the pandemic is we're not going out to do the things that we used to do, the brunches, the parties, etc., the red carpets, the film festivals. But I'm able to now hone in and have these deep connections with my clients because I'm getting to find out more about them. So one of the things that I do is when they tell me that what their idea is and we talk about deadlines and that kind of stuff, I want to know what kind of work you do. What's going on at home? You know, are you caring for a relative? Do you have children? And so all of those things to me become part of how they're going to be able to execute, because you might be passionate right now about this thing, but if your kid gets sick, I understand. World, stop the world. World, stop. I know everything comes to a screeching halt, and I'm gonna have to wait. But that's fine. Let me know. Keep me, in tune with what's going on, and we can adjust accordingly. So I really like to be able to get to know my clients, because that just helps me in terms of thinking about how do I need to coach them, how do I need to show up for them. There's a woman that I'm working with right now that's one of my clients, and she's writing about miscarriages, and I'm like, this is so important because she's had 3 miscarriages, and it's just now we're starting to normalize that conversation,
Yeah.
right? It's like that when she first came to me for coaching, she didn't have anything in specific that she wanted to write about. But as we started talking about who she is, that came out. And I was like, wait a minute, you suffered 3 miscarriages. And she's a mom now, but she's had such kind of like painful experiences. And I was like, your pain, as Robin Roberts used to say, that her mom used to say, like, make your mess your message, right? And so because Chrissy Teigen, because Mariah Carey, because Beyonce has they've talked about having miscarriages, it becomes a little bit easier. So here's this person that's been through it 3 times. Gabrielle Union talked about it like 9 times, right? Having a miscarriage 9 times. So there's a story there, and it comes from me asking questions, us talking about your life. Who are you? Because you're not just the person to me. You're like, you have a full life and family. I need to know what's going on. As
Absolutely.
as you write.
Wow. That's powerful. Like, okay, so you mentioned that, she didn't know what her story was when she came to you. So what made her come to you? Like, if she didn't know what her story was?
See, this is the power of email, right? This is the power of email. So she had been, I don't even know how she ended up on my email list. Like I believe she found me on Instagram, and maybe she did one of like my free products, right? I have a couple things that you can sign up for free, and now you're on my email list. And she had been on my email list for years. And she hit me up, I think it was maybe last year, and was like, I want to work with you. But then things fell through and we didn't work together. And then she hit me up again, and she was like, I am ready. I am ready. Let's talk. And so she really was ready this time. And so that's how we ended up being in a client coach.
So what was she ready for? Like, this is important information, because she didn't know what her story was. She didn't know what she was going to write about, but she knew she was ready. So
Right.
what was she ready for?
She was ready to write. She didn't have a specific thing. She didn't have an ebook. She didn't have a memoir that she was thinking of writing. She didn't have an essay. What she said she wanted to do was she wanted to have the personal connection of someone reading her writing and giving her feedback. And so I do that for people, but not a lot of people ask for that. Some people are really looking for a tangible product at the end of the experience. She was looking for, and these are her words, she was like, I need to nurture my writing garden. And so I need you to help me nurture my writing garden. And I was like, absolutely, let's do it. And she gets up. Go ahead. No, I was going to say she gets up early because she's in LA, and so we meet at 9 o'clock my time, and she's up in LA, and we meet weekly, and we go over her writing, and we discuss what she's writing about.
So just so I'm clear, so her intention wasn't to necessarily write a book or have this published thing. It was just it was like an exercise. It was almost kind of like if somebody was to take a yoga class, or somebody was to take like a painting class. It was like she just wanted to use it as a way for her to like strengthening her writing skills and in her words, work on her writing garden.
Yeah, because when you're taking your
Wow.
yoga class, you're not necessarily thinking, oh, I want to come out and be a yogi. You're just like, I need to stretch. I need to zen out. I need to get together. So that's what writing became for her.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so this is something. So now for you guys watching who might not have thought about this, so Taiia offers this service to help you, just like if you were, like she said, know that your body needs stretching, know that you need a nutritionist to eat better, know that you need, a artist to help you paint better. You can actually work with her to help with your writing, and at the end of it, you might have a product that might inspire some folks,
Yes.
even if it's just to eat a 25 page or 100 page ebook.
Yeah.
So I had this up earlier, which because I felt like, when we were talking about your clients, what you do is you help them write, publish, and sell an epic ebook.
Yes.
But you also have a workshop.
Yes. So again, in the pandemic, right? All the things like for me, I agreed with. I think I forgot who said it was like it was a blessing and a curse. It definitely was a blessing and a curse because what happened was is at the top of the year I lost a client, and so that was a big blow for me. And I was like, okay, we got to now recalibrate and figure out what we're going to do. And so as I started to look at the things that I had and what I wanted to put out in the world, as my interest grew in ebooks and I started to see more and more people gravitating to them, I was like, same concept. If I was teaching someone how to write a memoir, I want you to be able to write and publish and sell an epic ebook. And so you may not know how to do that. And so here I am. I was like, listen, I'm going to create this workshop. And I really was creating it as a test. I wanted to see what would happen. So I'll just I put a couple posts up on Instagram and I said, I'm looking for 5 people who are serious to join me on this journey. People answered the call. And what I did was I vetted them just to really see who was serious. So everybody who responded didn't make it into, everybody didn't come with us. Everybody didn't sit with us, right? But that's not because I didn't love y'all. It's only because I wanted to be able to see whose idea would work, who was going to be willing to show up for 5 weeks, right? So we met for 5 weeks from 7 to 9 p.m. and we focused on writing, we focused on designing, we focused on selling. And that's a lot of content to be consuming after a hard day's work. Even if you were just sitting at your same desk, right, at home, and you didn't have to go into your office, sitting there and you're like, okay, I'm not going to log off this thing until 9 o'clock. Here we go. And so that's going to be a big focus for me for 2021. I want to do more of that because it is such a great thrill for me to give people a quick win. One of my clients, her ebook, we just finished working on her ebook, You versus You, 6 tips for a mindful lifestyle. And she has affirmations inside. She has links to her meditations. So it's like you buy this ebook and her ebook is $30. And it is all these activities that she created. And like I said, you get meditations, you get, for each tip you get a meditation, and she tells her personal story. So she takes you on this journey of tip number 1. Listen, either I forgot what tip number 1 is. I think it's like acknowledge it and then forget about that shit, right? Because she's like has her own kind of voice. So she's not your typical I don't know if you think of like incense burning and candles and all that kind of stuff. She's that girl, but she's also the real girl who's gonna give it to you like your bestie would. And so she's created all these tips and tools and her story and her meditations and her affirmations, and she's giving you this great book that she's selling directly off of her website, and she's not sharing her coins with anyone else.
Now that part and one of the things that you actually mentioned to me when we first talked a couple of days ago was how the ebook makes it way more interactive than a hardback, because you can actually link to videos, you can link to documents, you can link to articles. Can you just kind of share with people like how impactful and immersive, because that's kind of like transmedia at that point.
Yeah, it's like if you have now I love books. I am a reader. I love books, but it is a very flat experience, right? It's you and the page, which you're creating the visuals, you're seeing. To me, I run it like a movie in my head as I read. But when you have an ebook, you can have these links in it that, let's say you have some footage that you want to actually show people. You have a tutorial. Let's say, better yet, you have a tutorial and you want to link directly to your tutorial. Maybe you have, maybe you're trying to get someone interested in a higher ticket product. So they came to you and they bought maybe your $20 ebook, but what you now have and what you're trying to get them to go up to is the $100 mini course, right? So now you can do maybe a link in there that has like some kind of a piece of that mini course that is now going to tease it out, and that becomes a marketing tool for you. And now you're able to now introduce them to another product in your arsenal. And so the thing too that I love that we definitely didn't talk about is like, it's so inexpensive to make these things,
It's
right?
all digital.
It's all digital. Okay. So Canva is
No
my best friend.
Right.
Canva is my best friend. So I make everything in Canva. I have Canva Pro and it's absolutely worth it. But it's like I have a tool to teach people how to, okay, you want to make an ebook? And you don't even need Canva. There's so many other tools because people design books through Google Docs, Apple Pages. Some do it straight in PowerPoint. So there's various ways to attack how to do an ebook, and now make it multimedia, make it have your links in it, have your links to your other content in it. You can have links to Instagram videos. So let's say you have your IGTV video in your ebook, and you don't want to have to go through showing them how to do a thing in your ebook. And it's like, okay, hey, find out how to do this specifically, and then you link to your IGTV video, and now they're in your IGTV and they're watching the video.
Wow. I mean, yeah, these are gems she's dropping. So right now, the whole intention of today's show was to talk about 2020 reflections, 2021 manifestations, and how to parlay the pandemic. Because they're writing, just do not even just writing like, in the, intense way, but literally just telling your story, sharing your gems, sharing your lessons, and sharing your perspective. So that way you can actually, inspire some people and make some coin in the process. So, so this is part of, this is 101 about how people are parlaying the pandemic. There's a few other things people are doing, but this is definitely one of the more low-hanging fruit options, because there are free, resources like Canva. Your brain and your time doesn't cost anything. Taiia, she definitely costs something, but this is something that she is mastered, and she has a formula that works. When it comes to like working with your clients, like, is there like a time frame that you like to be within? Like, okay, I got to work with you for this amount of time in order for us to have this product. And also, is there certain things that they should be prepared for?
Normally when we're working on, so I specialize in working with people on nonfiction books and ebooks. And so if we're working on your memoir or your self-help book, that process usually I do about 5 to 6 months. I know people are out here and they do the 3-month process. I'm not that girl. Not for a 30,000 word book, but if you're writing an ebook, then we're working on a different kind of timeline that can be completed if you have an urgent need and you need to have that done in 30 days, we can have it done in 30 days. We can have that done in 2 weeks. It all depends. But however, that's also more expensive, right? Because now you're rushed. Now you're
more time. Use more time.
Right. Exactly. So now you have to get pushed up in the queue in terms of what needs to be done. So the same way you go to FedEx and FedEx is going to charge you for that express shipping, ET got to charge you too, right? Because now you want me to push you to the top of the list when maybe you were third or fourth in the queue. And to me, that's not a problem, because if you are now need this product for your conference or convention, right, it is valuable to you, because now you're going to take this thing and make your money off of it. And it's like either you want to have it for the conference or the summit or the convention, or you don't. And most of the time people do, right? My client who did the You versus You, she came to me and she specifically wanted it ready before January 1st, and so that thing was ready I think like last week, right? But that was because I created a production timeline for us. And that's the thing too, being coming from the magazine background, I know how to do certain things. I know how to create a production schedule. I know how to create wiggle room. I know how to pace myself in terms of, okay, this is when the editing needs to be done. We're going to need to have feedback. We're going to need to figure out, and then depending too on what some people want some kind of marketing component too. So that's different. So what I'd like to be able to do is offer people packages, because some people might not want marketing. They're like, I got that. Some people might not want them social media captions. I got that. What I need you for, I just need you to edit, because I know how to design in Canva. Bet. Okay, that's a different conversation, right? So it all depends on what people want, because I like to customize things to what they need.
Awesome. So this is exciting. I mean, I'm definitely going to be following up with her because I feel like I have a story I need to tell.
Okay, tell your
I feel like I got a story I need to tell. And so I definitely, am inspired and grateful to, that we've been able to reconnect. And now that I'm in the city, then hopefully we'll be able to hang out and kick it and be in person and do some cool, dope stuff. And you introduced me to this because you're in Brooklyn. Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn.
Okay, so I was in Brooklyn. I was in Bed-Stuy.
You were my neighbor.
Well, I'm in Harlem. That's where I live. But I was down there for like doing some, because I'm selling cards. So I'm selling greeting cards right now. So I was down there. I was at Brooklyn Blossom, and I was at the rituals and ceremonies, and they supporters and tea rituals and things like that, or tea therapy rather. So and of course, Happy Cork, because that's one of my favorite wine shops now.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm just so glad, you're inspiring so many people with this. You're letting people know that this stuff is attainable. Like, our stories matter, and that we can actually share them and tell them in a way that it resonates with other people without feeling the pressure of doing it alone, or doing it with the publisher that's going to be like, making you feel like small because they work with, hundreds of authors, or, having to deal with the rigmarole of dealing with a distributor like Amazon and creating a marketplace and all this type stuff. So
I just want people to realize that let's say whatever skill that you have that you're using for your job, if you want to be able to use that skill outside of your job and make money for yourself, right? Because essentially we are making money for whatever brands or corporation that we work for, or nonprofit that we work for, right? But how about if you are a person who knows how to fundraise? And one of the people in my ebook workshop, she had a background in fundraising. And so what she wanted to do was create an ebook that now taught smaller nonprofits, because she was focused, she had worked at big ones. She wanted to teach smaller nonprofits how to fundraise, how to create these campaigns, how to turn that one-time donor who maybe gave that $150 during Christmas, how to turn that person into a consistent donor on a regular basis, right? And so these are things that maybe you don't want to read a whole book about. Okay, we want 200 pages. You want to know the 10 tips. How do I turn that person with $150? How do I turn them into a repeat, donor? And so if you have 10 tips, now you have an action plan. You have you have a tip. You have a way to now and go how to do it and turn it into a reality.
So you're pretty much disrupting the book industry. Is that what it is? This formula, I mean, that's what it is. It's a disruption.
I don't feel like I'm necessarily disrupting, but I feel like we can disrupt. We can definitely do it, because I think we need to be the thing for us, right? I'm speaking for us as communications majors now. We didn't learn how to necessarily monetize. Maybe the business people learned how to monetize and create a product and marketing. We were more so on the creative end. And so it has been such an enlightenment to be part of the process now that's like, no, we got to monetize the thing. How do we make a thing and then repeat after me, give me money? Or somebody on the internet says, smack the buy button. It's like, how do you get that add to cart moment? How do you make someone go from, maybe they came on my website and got my the dopest writers are from Brooklyn hoodie, right?
I see.
Got that. But now they're on my website. Now I want them to buy a thing, or maybe they want a freebie. And so how do we get people to even come to our website? Like we didn't grow up knowing how to do a Facebook ad, but now that's a thing. And so we have to be able to use, maybe you know how to write how to write Facebook ads for work. Maybe you're a copywriter and you do it for work. Listen, there's people out here that want that skill. Package that up, monetize it, help somebody else out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Taiia, it's been a pleasure. I mean, time has gone by so fast. I can't believe it's been over an hour.
Oh, has it been? I didn't even notice.
I didn't notice either, girl. We just been going. So that means, we having fun. So that means we got to do this again, in more ways than one. And I just want to tell you that I'm grateful for you. And for those of you guys who have enjoyed yourselves and are inspired, definitely make sure you follow Taiia on Instagram. There goes her handle right there and her beautiful headshot. And also you can learn more about her, and her Smart Girl Media company, where she's an aspiring artist, use her experience and expertise to write their self-published short books. And there goes her website as well, taiiasmartyoung.com, where she will provide you with the resources and a checklist, right, to be able to start your journey.
Absolutely.
So any last thoughts before we go?
This has been amazing. Thank you for allowing me to be on your platform and have this conversation about what I do and just be able to share, because I really do feel like we can all win. Like, let's get a piece of this puzzle, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be that the powers that be, they control everything. We are the power too, right? We are the media. We are the creators. Like,
we are the creators of all things.
Exactly. All things, your Instagram timeline, your Facebook timeline. Yes, those things, you are creating content and media. And so what do you need to do to now push that to the next level? So thank you so much for allowing me to have this opportunity to do that and talk about that.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome, Taiia. And I look forward to being in touch with you soon. Okay. Enjoy. Okay. Happy New Year. 2020 blessings.
Yes.
All right, guys. So this was amazing. I've drunk a little bit too much sparkling wine. I ain't gonna lie, y'all, because I sip throughout these chats. But I've also taken in a lot of great nuggets because I've always written for other people, or I was a broadcast journalism major, but I never really thought about telling and sharing my story until earlier this year when a friend of mine put it in my ear. And then, of course, when you talk about these digital products, it just lowers the barometer for all of us to parlay this pandemic, figure out what it is we've learned, whether it's through this year or whether it's just through our lifetime, that we've come to this full circle moment that we can share through an ebook, through a webinar, through a self-published, book. It's so many things for us to consider this year. And as we go into 2021, I just want us to just, speak our intentions, be intentional, by reflecting over this past year and just really take the initiative. Reach out to Taiia to learn more about what it is that she does. Always, 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 you're free to hit us up. Please, follow us on all the social media platforms. If you like it and if you enjoy the conversation and wine, definitely invite your friends to join our Facebook group and follow us on Facebook. And then, of course, if you're on YouTube, share the video, because the more views we get, the more people get to get the information and get inspired by people like Taiia and other guests that we've had in the past. And we do have our hashtags, Uncorked and Cultured. And of course, if you're a Black wine drinker, we want to use the hashtag Black Wine Lovers. And my name's Angela. So I'm the founder of Uncorked and Cultured, a media platform for us to share our journey in wine, wellness, adventure, and culture. And so get in touch with me. I'm on Instagram at Adventurous Ange. I'm also on Instagram through the brand Uncorked and Cultured. And I look forward to continuing this and sharing more content with you guys in 2021. But just, engage with us. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know where you're at in your wine journey, in your travel and adventure journey. And we will try to get the people up front to tell you their story to kind of help you through the process. So happy New Year. Thank God we made it through 2020. And for those who didn't, maybe, send blessings of gratitude and love and peace to their spirits. And let's go into 21 inspired. So I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side.